On the Newshour tonight, with me in the studio is Pooja Marwa, CEO of CRY, Shazia Elmi of the Aam Aadmi Party joins me tonight. Uday Singh is Lok Sabha Member of Parliament of the BJP. He's joining us from Delhi. Dr. Chandan Yadav is spokesperson of the Bihar Pradesh Congress Committee from Patna. Annie Koshi is principal of St. Mary's School in Delhi. Thank you very much. Pawan Verma, my first question is to you. You know, the terrible part of all this is the lack of genuine remorse in the political class, especially that in your state. And the attempt to then politicize it very quickly, to give a political spin to it, to avoid any sense of responsibility. Where did this come from? Do you genuinely believe that your party, which you represent today, will get away with this? That people will forgive you for this?
No, Arnab, let me clarify straight away to you. This is not...
Oops, losing the line there. I'm sorry, I just lost the line there with... Is he back? Are you back? Yes, sir. Continue. If you're back. If you can hear me, please continue.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Please continue. Let's get your view.
Can you hear me? No, I was saying this is not the time to play politics over this terrible tragedy or even to defend it mechanically. Let me state that at the outset to you, Arnab. I think the facts of the matter is that
I'm again lost the line there.
To 2 crore children, the largest such program perhaps in India. For the first time you've had a case of not food poisoning, but poisoning. We need to wait for the investigations to reveal what exactly has happened and also to draw the right inferences from what has happened on how we can improve.
No. You see, Pawan, Mr. Verma, this, you see, I'll tell you, that's a fig leaf. It's a fig leaf. I'm sorry to say that I've heard this through and through all through the day. This is not the time to do finger pointing. This is not the time to be accusatory. This is the time to learn the right lessons into how this does not happen in the future. And I'm sorry to say this straight on your face, Pawan Verma. But this is the kind of answer you're giving today, is the kind of answer every politician gives after every tragedy, every time. And you forget the fact that that your states are required to set up steering monitoring committees at the state, district and block level to monitor implementation of this program. So the responsibility is yours. And it is not anyone else but your education minister who politicized it. So let's put the facts absolutely straight and clear on this one. I'd now like to go across to Uday Singh, Member of Parliament of the BJP. That's a fact.
Arnab,
no, Pawan Verma.
Arnab, you made an accusation. Can I answer it? Can I answer it then?
Well, if you feel it's an accusation, I don't think it is, but please go ahead.
No, because you are saying that we are trying to put a fig leaf on it. Arnab, please understand that what has happened should not have happened. I concede that. All I was trying to do was to put it in perspective.
Well, your perspective is that this is the first time a calamity of this kind has happened. It was waiting to happen. Let's get Pooja Marwa in. Does this impress you, this defense, Pooja Marwa?
I think we've, recently we've just completed a study of schools across the country. And one of the key things we studied was the midday meal scheme. And so there is a structure put in place by which you are supposed to monitor the midday meal scheme. And we found that, for example, there's a large percentage of schools where, though the kitchens are separate, there is no provision for storage. And that's been pointed out again and again at local levels. It's pointed out by civil society at local, at national level, saying if we are going to put such a large scheme for feeding children into place, we need to make sure there are health, security and safety standards. We have found that water is not available even on the school premises in almost 50% of the cases in North India. I don't have specific figures for a state, but in the whole of North India, clean water is not provided. And then we are seeing, today through the day we have seen, from last year, we are seeing cases of where children are either the food is contaminated and therefore they're sick, or the water is contaminated. As we speak today, we've seen a case in Maharashtra where the water is contaminated. So really, I think the key question I would like to ask politicians and the government of this country is, are we interested in children at all? Are we considering that we need to take care, we need to take action? And once something happens, 1 year later, can the same thing happen?
No, the answer is very simple. I don't think India's politicians are interested in children. They are interested in using children as political fodder. Shazia, I'm coming to you. But, Uday Singh, parties like yours, you're interested in using these kind of cases as political fodder. Because now it's been 4 weeks since you broke away with the JDU. So now you'll start pointing fingers at the JDU. You'll say nothing in what happened in Goa or Madhya Pradesh. Isn't it unfair? It's terrible. It's terrible what the JDU minister did, but it's also terrible what your party has been doing, politicizing it within minutes. You politicized it.
Arnab, I've been on 3 or 4 channels today talking about this terrible tragedy. And I've said it on all channels and I'm repeating it on yours, that I don't even know how on a day like this any of us can be talking of doing politics with each other or trying to absolve ourselves of the responsibility. As far as the BJP is concerned, BJP has been a part of the NDA government in Bihar, and therefore everything that has happened in Bihar till the time that we left it, there's a joint responsibility. But having said that, let me tell you exactly what happened to the midday meal scheme, and it is a tragedy waiting to happen every other day. Bihar now has a Bihar model of inclusive corruption. And Mr. Verma must have heard this from me earlier. Bihar is now a model of inclusive corruption, which has been institutionalized. And Mr. Nitish Kumar probably wants to flaunt this as the Bihar model of development. Whether it is the midday meal scheme or the infrastructure in schools,
1 second.
Bihar is in a
Mr. Verma, Mr. Uday Singh, Mr. Uday Singh, 1 minute, please. You begin by saying we won't politicize it, then answer my question. No, 1 second. I don't know what lecture you've given on other channels. I'll ask you the question on this channel. I'm asking you today. No, I will bring you to the point today because children have died. 1 minute. The question is this. If there is a Bihar model of corruption, then you were part of the Bihar model of corruption till 4 weeks back. If there is a Bihar model of corruption, then you were in party to it. When the planning commission blamed you, you were part of it when the HRD ministry blamed you.
We cannot deny it.
Then what are you blaming Nitish Kumar for? First say I take responsibility.
I am
Do you take responsibility?
Because he is the chief minister.
Do you take
and he has to take the onus.
And who was the deputy chief minister till 4 weeks back?
Absolutely. As a political party, we were part of it 4 weeks ago. We have to take responsibility. How can we run away from our responsibility? But I said it even when we were part of the government.
We've seen through this cherry
I have said it, Arnab, that we have said, I have said it publicly, that the corruption levels in Bihar are unsustainable.
Sir,
and things like this will happen.
You know something, 1 minute. Inaction has been shared by you. You have been in power since 2005. What were you doing till now? What were you doing? Playing the violin? Let's be very clear on this. You were doing nothing on this. Please, please, Mr. Uday Singh, now people are seeing through these things, and I'm sorry, it's getting people very angry indeed. Shazia wants to say something.
Arnab, let me tell you, while my party must take responsibility, I cannot defend them.
No, you all take partial. You don't take, all of you, all the political parties come here and they lecture the media, but the fact is all political parties do not own up.
Oh.
Children have died, and Uday Singh, let me tell you, in any other country in the world, on this planet, 22 children die like this? Or children are, you find lizards in midday meal schemes and rats and snakes and nobody is responsible? And you think the political class, the governing class thinks it will fool the people of this country and the media by saying, putting some statistics out. And the fact is all of you have never come together and said this is a national calamity. Because you know what? These children are not a vote bank for you. Shazia is saying something here. Shazia.
True. Yeah, I didn't want to get into, make a political point, But I just want to ask Mr. Uday that till 4 weeks back he was part of the government, and now he calls Bihar government a model of inclusive corruption. But I'm not interested in that. In light of sanitation, standards of our country, in light of sanitation standards of our country, in light of the fact that half of Indians don't have access to drinking water, clean, potable drinking water, in light of the fact that half of the Indians don't have a place to defecate and have to resort to open toilets, in light of the fact that calamities and tragedies after tragedies. You just rattled off figures for infant mortality, for female mortality. You rattled off figures for child nutrition. I want to know, this is a bigger question, and this is a question I want to ask. Should we be interested as an agenda for a country in wanting to know who's a born Hindu, who's a converted Buddhist, who's a patriotic Muslim?
Exactly.
And this is the majoritarianism, minoritism. We don't want to know. I'm sorry, we're not interested in this vote bank politics.
Exactly.
It's exactly this vote bank politics, this identity politics that has led to lack of governance.
I say
the land mafia, led to water tank mafia.
Why do you bring this up? Please ask the
led to midday meals mafia.
Please ask Mr. Nitish Kumar's party.
All the parties, I'm sorry. Not just one party, all the parties, I'm sorry.
I say this today.
We as citizens need to know as to...
I say this. I want to go. I want to get Annie Koshi, Dr. Chandan Yadav. I'll come to you, but I also want to get the non-political voices, because you know what is coming out today. And in case you're just joining this broadcast, I want to quickly recap over the pictures of what has happened in Chhapra before I go to Annie Koshi. The incident in Chhapra is so shocking that because of consuming pesticides mixed with their food, 22 children have died. These are all children below the age of 10. They were studying in between classes 1 to 5. So they're really small children. Among the dead are 2 children of a woman cook of the midday meal project. It cannot get worse than this. Following this, there has been another incident in Madhubani where 15 children have fallen sick. Now I will play out the pictures from Dhule in Maharashtra, where 35 children have fallen sick because they were given contaminated water, and that's the level of medical care these children are getting. You know, the child is taking a child to hospital. That's the level of medical care. He's holding the drip in those pictures, and they are made to lie on the floor completely unattended, and a shameless blame game is on. And I say here today, while we put this story out, Annie Koshi, that a lot of callers here on the Newshour are telling us today, let the people of this country decide what the political agenda for 2014 is going to be. Let it not be some ridiculous minority, majority, you're a Hindu, I am a Muslim, I am a Buddhist, who is a born what kind of a debate. You know, let us bring the issues that really matter. And Annie Koshi, do you think an incident like this can be a wake-up call? Do you think we need to snatch the agenda back? What would you put on top of the agenda for the political class today after this incident?
You know, when one listens to what is being said, what one is aware of, that everybody tries to get into the generalities of things. Where are the specifics? We're talking of specific children. They've got names. And I really want to know who was the man who actually procured that rice, that grain that was contaminated. There are names to these people. We do not want politicians to stand up and say, oh, we are sorry. Great, we've heard this before. But what's being done after that is the question. Across the country, that we are finding children. I mean, from Uttarakhand onwards. Where are the children? What's being done for them? Who is the person who got that right? Whether you've got storage or not storage, you took on the responsibility of giving meals. I don't want the politician to tell me something. There was a system in place to get the rice to the children. Can we trace those personal names up? Not some vague fellow sitting somewhere as an MP saying, we take responsibility for what has happened. Now we are going to make some kind of a survey of what happened. You mean this hasn't happened before? You're still waiting to do a survey? Who was the man who gave money or the kickback to get that contaminated food stuff onto that child's plate? Let him be answerable. Let him say who took it from him.
Good point.
And let them all stand up and say something.
Well, we all back you on that, because these are the generalities behind which Pawan Verma today, unfortunately, I'm sorry to say this, Pawan Verma, these are the generalities you're putting out which are unacceptable. And we put this question back to you. Where are the specifics? You can't say today we'll have a long investigation. Don't blame the political class. Given and these children have died because they were hungry. Because they were hungry. That's their fault.
Arnab, let me say that the sense of outrage you feel, you don't have a monopoly on it. So I think it's time to understand that an incident took place, an investigation was ordered within hours, responsibility will be fixed, succor has been provided to the extent possible, and there is a deep sense of anguish that unblemished or without a major incident of any kind like this, something like this has happened. We have to try and ensure it doesn't happen. It's a tragedy waiting to happen because you have a very large welfare scheme running across the country, and I entirely agree with the other panel.
Mr. Pawan Verma, you're there? Because your line is coming and going. Are you there? Are you there? Mr. Verma?
I am there, Arnab.
Yeah. So let me just say one thing to you. That you say that I don't have a right or what did you say? Monopoly or outrage. Well, Mr. Verma, you and your government and the political class of this country don't have a right to, righteousness either. And your government has pinned the blame on the supplier. Your government remains responsible for monitoring the implementation of the scheme. You say that I don't have a monopoly on outrage. Certainly I don't. But let me also remind you, Mr. Pawan Verma, it didn't take minutes for your party to politicize this incident. What do you mean when you say the school principal's husband is close to a prominent political leader, Mr. Verma? What do you mean when your education minister claims the children were poisoned? If you are saying there's a diabolical political conspiracy and you're hiding behind the fig leaf of that political conspiracy, I want you today to put out the specifics or say that your education minister should be sacked.
I'm going to say to you that this is the first case which is not one of food poisoning, but initial preliminary findings show that it's a case of poisoning.
Of course, because it's pesticides.
No should be made.
Of course, because it's pesticides. What do you expect?
Is completed. It is a case of poisoning as it appears now, where whether it's intentional or whether it's not is a question that the investigation will reveal. I want to also state that this kind of negligence is not a pattern or a norm.
No.
It's not a norm in the implementation of the scheme in Bihar. It has happened, it's a terrible tragedy. And the investigations will be held, and whatever actions can be taken to prevent this kind of thing.
You've had Madhubani today, you've had Gaya today.
By a government which is normally very proactive in these matters.
Look, in one day we've had 3 cases from yesterday to today. We have a case of arsenic poisoning because of water in a school. We have a case of insecticide poisoning. Actually, it's not poisoning. There was insecticide in the pesticide in the food, and through a school. And I think we've committed to our children that we will give you that one meal a day. And these are, you and I both know that these are the poorest of the poor. These are children who are getting no other meal in the day. And if we can't provide them a good quality meal, that is not going to make them die.
I think it's so terrible. It's so terrible, Pawan Verma, that you are among the more erudite people in the political class, that you should be hiding behind the fact of poisoning. Of course it's poisoning, and that's the worst thing about it, because organic phosphorus is poison, and that comes from a pesticide, and your government is monitoring a scheme that is feeding children pesticide, and the children are dying, and the monitoring is supposed to be done by you. And then you want to caustically and sarcastically talk about the outrage people feels. Let me tell you, Pawan Verma, you are out of touch with the people of this country, because that outrage is felt by everyone, not just me tonight. But I'll go across to our next guest, Dr. Chandan Yadav of the Bihar Pradesh Congress Committee, as far as this, because I want all political parties represented. Your views on what has been going on and the political blame game that's happened. Dr. Chandan Yadav.
Yeah, Arnab, just two quick points. I would like to respond to our BJP representative. Here BJP coming out of power has been shedding crocodile tears and showing that frustration after coming out of power. Having said that, The Bihar Pradesh Congress Committee, led by our president, visited the hospital.
Oh, please don't give me a...
where the student,
please don't give me a...
where the suffering children had been hospitalized for the care. And also he tried to go to Chhapra, but because of the
please don't give me, please don't give me an account. I am not interested in what your Bihar Pradesh Congress Committee chief has done or not done. That's not my question. Do you have any solutions in sight? Do you have anything specific to say what has happened?
I said, let me come to what we have demanded. Yeah, what we have demanded. See, one of the time is to come to the solution. As far as a young politician who have chosen politics, who get motivated and whose resolves is more after listening to all this. We have demanded a thorough inquiry, and through inquiry the buck has to be fixed, and exemplary punishment should be given to those guilty.
I'm hearing
and we have also asking for a committee recommendation so that this should be the last incident of this kind happening in Bihar. What happens generally in all these incidents, we set up an inquiry committee and we do not proceed further of seeing to it that such incidents do not take place. So we also want the Bihar government to set up a committee.
So these committees are useless. I'm telling you. So these committees, I don't know. I don't know this. I'm sorry. These committees are completely useless. Because these committees were set up in 2010. What committee do you want when the Planning Commission of India told you?
He's from the Congress party. What else do you expect? They've set up 1,000 committees for their own corruption in India.
No, what you can expect from BJP, who don't value human lives and Papi's life. So let me try to tell you. Order today was also a day for a national awareness campaign for our food security. Where we were discussing, where our policy we are discussing how to take care of the child.
Please don't. No, I'm sorry. I am sorry. I reject outright.
If Lalu is responsible for destroying Bihar, so are you. You were the person who backed up Lalu in the first place.
This has nothing to do with politics.
Yeah, go ahead, Biswara.
Can we please talk about the solution for children?
One second, listen to please. Mr. Dr. Yadav, listen to a non-political voice. Listen to the non-political voice. Shazia, 1 minute, please. Let Pooja speak. And Annie Koshi is... Dr. Yadav,
just one point, please.
Dr. Yadav,
one point.
Dr. Yadav, 1 minute, please. Before you make your next point, I want to tell you that I reject all these predictable things. We'll set up a committee, we'll look into it, an investigation is on, let us see what happens. This incident has happened after a long time. This is a rarity. The media must not jump to the conclusions. The media is bad. I know this predictable cycle that politicians go through, and I don't think it's going to help. Will it help? That's not what we are.
No, just for a moment.
No, please, one second.
I did not mean that.
Listen to Pooja, please. Pooja, 1 second. Pooja is speaking, please.
Can we just, like Annie said, can we find out who is responsible? What exactly happened in this situation? Yes, you must find out. But more importantly, for the future, let us be clear about where accountability will be fixed. Not at the local contractor level, but who is actually made responsible for supervising this. We all know that these responsibilities have been fixed. In the right to education, in the midday meal scheme, these responsibilities are fixed. In the bureaucracy, as well as in the political class. So once that responsibility is fixed, then you hold that person responsible. It's not about this party or that party.
Responsibility has to come from the heart. Responsibility cannot be forced. You see, you can't have a situation, I'm sorry, like Mr. Raja never felt responsible for the 2G scam. Suresh Kalmari never felt responsible for the CWG scam. They had to be pushed and cajoled into taking responsibility. Now the case is Annie Koshi. You asked a very specific point. I really appreciate. You said, let's get down to specifics. Now, Ms. Koshi, 1 minute, please. 1 minute. Ms. Koshi's the simple question. The implementation was sought for, it was not being done. The Planning Commission asked questions, the HRD Ministry asked questions. Still it happened, which means the minister was not doing his job, which means the minister is responsible. And the same minister has the courage to come out and try and give a political spin to it. The guilty party is giving it a political spin.
Say something.
Yes, Ms. Koshi.
Can I? Yeah, what I want to say is I did talk about specifics because I think that we lose ourselves in generalities. But I also want to say I'm principal of a school. I'm not sort of looking after the nation, and I'm sure it's a bigger job there. when we're doing something, we don't wait for something to happen before we put systems in place.
Correct.
We are working before it happens. If my school bus is running, I have to foresee how will the children go, where will they stand in line, how will I actually work towards stopping an incident rather than after it happens. Now I think that what is the system in place has to be looked at again and again to foresee such things that can happen and counteract and counter-work against them. And I don't think that's really happening. And another thing I want to say, a very, very important thing is monitoring a system.
Absolutely.
There is somebody who has to monitor what's happening, and that person has to be an honest person who has the children's welfare at heart. I'm afraid the children's welfare is not foremost in our minds. We don't have to wait for the midday meal. They're starving children. The Brahmaputra is overflowing. We can see pictures of those children. They're not getting anything to eat. They'll die anyway.
I think
so what is our system? Who monitors the system is something that the politician, I don't think the politician is even bothered about what's happening. But who is? Is the IAS officer monitoring it? Who's supposed to be sitting out there? Who's below him? I want those people to stand up and say, did you do your job? Did you monitor? Did you check the grains?
No.
Did you eat it?
No.
Are you sampling it before the kids sample it?
Absolutely.
No, because it's
and the
food for
day the
poor
bureaucrat,
children.
the day, you see the first thing from all the cases I have researched, the bureaucrats and the politicians, the first thing that they do is that they take away their responsibility. Then they form a committee, they take short-term action against the contractor, and I would not be surprised if tomorrow the same contractor comes back to the system and the politician carries on as if the incident does not happen. And that is why I find all those arguments of politicians, you know, that this is a rarity, it happens once in a while, it should not happen, we should not be judgmental, that's all extremely facetious. Shazia wants to come in. Shazia.
You know, I've been hearing this war of words, and I really feel so sad and anguished about the fact that instead of indulging in a war of words, why don't the politicians, why don't the elected representatives, why don't the bureaucrats work on a war footing to fix the system? Obviously, the system is rotting away, and there is terribly wrong with this picture. If you look at the nodal officers, if you look at how the meal is being cooked, midday meal by the Supreme Court directive is a legal entitlement. So this should be a criminal offence if something like this happens, and responsibility will not come from the heart. I'm sorry to say, it will only come when it's a criminal offence and people are imprisoned, when they're punished. Only then responsibility will come. And there's somebody, Renuka Chaudhary had mentioned this earlier in the show, that there's no magic solution to the problem. There is a magic figure. There is a magic solution, and the solution is this: elected representatives were to eat this meal. If their children were to eat this meal, if the children of the mighty and the powerful people in the system were to eat the meal, they would know better than to allow for the meal to be contaminated in any way or made with spurious ingredients whatsoever. So I think somewhere there's a whole disconnect. This only happened not because there is no concern of welfare for the children, but the only crime was that they're poor children. And somewhere part of India doesn't care about these hungry millions. A lot of schemes are made, but the schemes only add to another mafia, which is a midday mafia. So if you look at the land mafia, water tanker mafia, if you look at the land mafia, there is big reality companies involved. If you look at now midday meals, the contractors in cahoots with the government servants, with elected representatives are running these schemes. So we have to address that. And unless they feel the heat, nothing will change. So they must be made to feel the heat, which will only happen.
You know, I don't think
there is imprisonment. And
I don't think, and this question goes to Pawan Verma, I don't think the person who allowed the pesticides to be mixed with the food would have done so despite being warned by the cook in this case that don't do it, as we have a witness on record saying don't do it, yet they said go ahead and cook it in the way it is despite the pesticides being mixed. I don't think, do you think, Pawan Verma, somebody would be so callous, or unless they felt that they had some level of protection within the system? Unless that person felt protected, they would not take a chance with the lives of these children. What do you think, Mr. Verma?
No, I think that whatever the reasons, they need to. I've said it to you, Arnab, that an inquiry must reveal and accountability should be established and people should go to jail for it. It's precisely what's going to happen. This is not a state which has been kind to criminalization in the functioning of government. Yeah. I'm sure it will happen now. Let's see that it happens fast enough.
I hope it happens, Mr. Verma.
The Forensic Science Laboratory report. The Chief Judicial Magistrate has to sanction it coming. An FIR has to be registered. A judicial an inquiry has been ordered. Everything is in process immediately.
I will follow that process. And I just want to say one thing. I completely agree with the views of Shazia here, that it is because these are poor children. These are not children who have a choice between a pizza and a burger. These are the poorest of children who perhaps, even if they found that the food did not taste well, did not taste good, would have it because they were hungry, and that is the tragedy of this country. I hope this is followed up, because we here at Times Now have promised to follow this story, and we will. Thank you for joining me on this discussion on the Newshour tonight. Thank you.